Retsu Unohana is introduced as the captain of Squad 4, the division responsible for medical treatment and recovery of the Soul Society. She rarely raises her voice, rarely involves herself in conflict, and for much of the story, she seems completely removed from the aggression that defines many of the other captains. Her role is simple: heal the injured and keep the Goatee 13 functioning after battle. But Bleach slowly reveals that this peaceful identity is only part of the truth. Unohana's reputation inside the Soul Society is far older than her role as a healer. Long before she led Squad 4, she was known as something entirely different. She was a fighter who lived for battle, feared across the early Soul Society for her brutality and skill with the sword. In fact, she once held a title defined as the strongest warrior in history. Unohana was the first Kenpachi. One of the most interesting things about Unohana is how completely she reshapes her identity over time. By the point we meet her in Bleach, she is not simply pretending to be calm. She genuinely operates as the head of the Soul Society's medical division. Unohana performs this role with absolute competence. She is widely respected as the most skilled healer in the Soul Society, capable of treating injuries that would normally be fatal. Her presence during crisis is often associated with stability rather than violence, but the reactions of other characters suggest that her reputation goes far beyond medicine. Even senior captains treat her with unusual caution. Characters who are otherwise fearless in battle tend to show a quiet respect when she enters the room. This subtle tension hints that Unohana's past is not forgotten, even if it is rarely discussed. The truth is that Unohana did not simply become a healer because she lacked the ability to fight. She chose that role after centuries of living as something far more dangerous. Before she became the calm captain of Squad 4, Unohana lived a very different life. In the early days of Soul Society, long before the structure of the modern Goatee 13 fully stabilized, she was known as Yachiru Unohana, a name associated with violence and unmatched swordsmanship. During that period, she earned the title Kenpachi, a title given to the strongest warrior who lived purely for battle. What made Unohana different was not just the strength, but her mindset. She did not fight for duty, status, or protection of Soul Society. She fought because she genuinely enjoyed combat. The battlefield was where she felt most alive. Her skill with the sword and her willingness to fight anyone who challenged her made her one of the most feared figures of her time. But Unohana's life changed when she encountered a young warrior who would later become Kenpachi Zaraki. For the first time, she met someone whose natural instincts for combat rivaled her own. Their battle would primarily alter both of their lives and ultimately shape the future of the Kenpachi title itself. Despite spending most of the story acting as a healer, Unohana remains one of the most powerful captains in Bleach. Her strength does not come from flashy techniques or overwhelming spiritual pressure alone. Instead, it comes from something far rarer in the Soul Society: centuries of combat experience. She is one of the oldest captains in the Goatee 13, and every movement she makes reflects a lifetime spent fighting skilled opponents. Her greatest strength is her mastery of swordsmanship. As the original Kenpachi, she earned her title by defeating countless challengers in direct combat. Unlike many fighters who rely on brute force, Unohana's style is controlled and precise. She reads her opponents, adapts quickly, and strikes with lethal efficiency. This calm and calculated approach is what made her so feared during the early history of the Soul Society. Her Zanpakutō Minazuki, in its Shikai form, the blade transforms into a massive manta ray-like creature capable of swallowing allies and transporting them inside its body while healing their injuries. This ability perfectly reflects the role Unohana later adopts as the leader of Squad 4 and the Soul Society's most skilled healer. However, her Bankai reveals the darker side of her ability. When Unohana activates Minazuki's Bankai, the blade appears to dissolve into a thick blood-like liquid that spreads across the battlefield and coating her weapon. The environment becomes submerged in this crimson substance as she continues fighting at close range. The ability reflects the violent past she tried to leave behind, a reminder that beneath the calm healer still exists the first Kenpachi, a warrior whose entire life was shaped by battle. What makes Unohana such an interesting character in Bleach is the extreme contrast between the two identities she carries. For most of the story, she is known as the gentle captain of Squad 4, calm, soft-spoken, and completely devoted to healing. Her division, as stated, is responsible for saving lives after battle. To the soldiers of the Goatee 13, she represents stability and reassurance in the middle of chaos. But that peaceful image exists alongside a far darker truth. Before she became the Soul Society's greatest healer, she held the feared title of Kenpachi. What makes this duality compelling is that neither version of Unohana is fake. The healer is real, but so is the warrior who she once was. Over centuries, she learned to suppress that violent instinct, redirecting her discipline towards preserving life instead of taking it. However, the story eventually shows that this transformation never erased her past. The warrior remained beneath the surface, waiting for the one opponent who could finally bring that side of her back, and that opponent was Kenpachi Zaraki.